What's good, everyone? It's the Real AG here, back at you on the Lockdown Defense Sports Network. And what do you know? We have another week, another cardiac event brought to us by the Kansas City Chiefs. And with that, welcome back to Kingdom Keys with the Real AG. And today, we're going to unlock the truth behind the Chiefs' latest battle, breaking down, the post-game heat, the standout moments, and what it all ultimately means moving forward. And just when we thought things might calm down a little bit in the schedule, here come the Detroit Lions roaring into town for week 6. And I'm going to break down the keys to the kingdom if the Chiefs want to protect their home turf. So let's just get right into it, ladies and gentlemen, with first and foremost the post-game reactions following the Chiefs' Monday Night Football loss, unfortunately, to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You see the score right there, lost 31-28 in historic fashion, I guess, in Jacksonville. But hats off to the Jags first and foremost. Mainly Trevor Lawrence for the rumbling, stumbling touchdown to seal it at the end. Got to give credit to Devin Lloyd as well for channeling his inner James Harrison, rather, for the 99-yard pick six. But, ultimately, and you can call me biased, you can call me the Chiefs fan, but ultimately, leaving that game, I felt the Jags really had no business winning it. and KC, lost it more than Jacksonville made a statement. Just looking at kind of some of the key stats, the Chiefs they beat Jacksonville in nearly every metric offensively, had 26 first downs, 476 total yards of offense, 158 rushing, controlled time of possession, and even beat Jacksonville out on the turnover differential. Essentially, if you go back or watch my video last week, thank you for doing so, but the Chiefs were essentially successful in a lot of the keys that I noted last week for them to win this game. But ultimately, they did the metric that mattered the most. And Andy Reid even said this at the end of the game. The score can say whatever, you can put up whatever yards, but if you're gifting them possessions, if you're gifting them field position, bad things are going to happen. And that's ultimately what cost the Chiefs here. They had 13 penalties, some at costly times to Jacksonville's 4. Looking at the keys from last week, they did not stay aggressive, coming, especially in the second half, but coming out of the half, and special teams was, which has been somewhat of a consistent safety net for this team in years past, is lately just been rearing its ugly head, and that's just never what you want. Usually special teams are good when you're not talking about them, and unfortunately we're talking about them. But like I said, looking at some of the positives from the game, if you can pull some positives from a win with a team like the Chiefs caliber, with the goals they have, ultimately, we continue to see some of that offensive explosiveness on display. I think the unit as a whole seems to be picking up steam. Mahomes was 29 for 41, 318 yards, a touchdown, also had 60 rushing and a touchdown. Kareem had 2 touchdowns. Kelsey, 7 catches, 61 yards and a tutty. And Thornton, 5 targets, had 3 catches for 90 yards on some more of that big play potential we've been seeing out of him. And on the defensive side of the ball, like the Chiefs defense, hats off to the unit and Spags. They held the Jaguars to a very modest rushing attack, which is something that is Liam Cohen's identity. That's what they talked about for 70% of the game, how committed to the run they are. When Trevor Lawrence is your leading rusher, I think that's a testament to how good they did. And honestly, like, I thought defensively, they played a pretty solid game overall. And then, taking the positives from the game, looking at some more, compounding a little bit on the negatives. Like I said, they had 13 penalties, bad penalties. Not that any are particularly good, but they had some really bad timed penalties, especially on special teams. You had Jack Cochran, called for holding twice. You could probably debate the holding calls a little bit, but hey, they were called. One was on a pretty big kickoff return from Brashard Smith that ultimately got brought all the way back. And then Butker, Mahomes does what Mahomes does, drives down the field, gives them the lead with 1:40 left, and then Butker gifts the Jaguars, the starting position on their own 40, essentially midfield, by kicking it out of bounds. So you just can't have that stuff in your special teams. Defensively, it just looked like they were kind of, just playing lackluster a little bit, as I kind of alluded to a little bit earlier. Chiefs were really sluggish out of the half. I mean, they were up 7 points and got the ball back at half and let the Jaguars essentially get put up 14 and get a 7 point lead before they did anything else. Like just didn't really seem to be in attack mode for a team that likes to defer to the second half when they win the coin toss. And then, on the defensive side of things, like I said, they were just, too chippy at times, not aggressive enough early on, seemed to kind of let Lawrence sit back and run all over them, and just sort of have a clean pocket for the most part. I truly thought that Spags and the defense would pressure him a whole lot more, and they seemed to have the game plan of, make him have to analyze the field and make the right choice with so many back in coverage. And, he did lead the team in rushing. They obviously did not respect that aspect of his game. But like just defensively, I felt they didn't pressure early and often enough and just kind of let Jacksonville hang around offensively. Like I said, I felt had no business winning that game. I mean, Trevor Lawrence with a minute 40 left has to say we're good and do a bunch of dead counts just to see what the defense looks like, and consistently snapping the ball with 1 second left on the play clock, getting a delay of game when the game's on the line. Like, that's just stuff that should not, doesn't point to an efficient offense making a statement. It's more of the team gifting them possession, field position, and just gifting them points and an area of the field. So, it's what it is. And then again, like I said, costly turnover, even with the Chiefs beating them in turnovers. They had one to Jacksonville's two, but Mahomes obviously threw a pick six on a pretty routine red zone play. And I think he just, the mistake that he made is just, he kind of took the initial look of the defense at face value and didn't anticipate Lloyd faking pressure and dropping back. So hats off to Lloyd and the DC for that call. But honestly, I think if Mahomes just waited a little bit longer and knew that was happening, I don't think he throws that pick and it doesn't go for a touchdown. And then, I think at the end of the game, you still see kind of there's just that apparent lack of chemistry with this receiving group, and that comes with the growing pains and just not playing, consistent ball with a lot of these guys. I mean, look, like even for what Jacksonville did, Mahomes got the ball back with 16 seconds left. And I know he can't be Superman forever, but we have seen him in the past tie a game up with 13 seconds left and ultimately win that game. And he had 3 more seconds in this one, and we didn't get anything done. And that's where I kind of note this chemistry, because, I think if Hollywood had a little more time with Mahomes and understood more of how he operates and what he's looking for, and especially in that type of situation late in the game, he would know to look for that ball early. And who knows what a guy of his caliber could do getting the ball in space. But, that's the post-game reactions. It ultimately is what it is. Chiefs lost. They're 2-3, and they really need to start picking things up in a hurry, which is going to bring us on to week 6 and the Sunday night football matchup against the Detroit Lions. But first, let's kind of briefly go over the injury report. Obviously, Chiefs played last night. Our Monday night is coming out Wednesday. Don't have a whole lot of information on the status of guys heading into week 6. But what we do know is corner Christian Fulton, who's been out for a few weeks now, did not play Monday with an ankle injury. We had Norman Lott, became a sort of late week bloomer on the injury report, also ruled out Monday with a shoulder injury. And then Worthy was, the late game scare, deemed questionable getting off the plane, ultimately did play. But I think we just need to kind of monitor him moving forward, because, he's dealing with a shoulder injury on top of the ankle injury, which made him questionable. And you could tell just during that game, they knew he wasn't 100% and weren't trying to use him as much as they did in week 4 against the Ravens. So it's just, you just definitely want to watch that. And he came up hobbling a little bit during the game. So want to monitor Worthy. He's going to be a key component of them being successful moving forward. And then just on the Lions side of things, kind of similar, a little too early to get full updates, but of significance, corner Terrion Arnold, who was a top pick for them a couple years ago, was ruled out week 5 with a shoulder injury. apparently got a second opinion, which said wasn't that serious, but I highly doubt he plays in this Sunday night game unless he gets a special shot or something. But moving on to what's ahead in the upcoming matchup, like I said, week 6, big time matchup against the Detroit Lions at home in Arrowhead, Sunday Night Football. Tirico and Collinsworth, baby. But looking at the matchup from the odds perspective, again, Lions are 2.5-point favorites on the road. Third time so far this year that Mahomes and the Chiefs are a home underdog. Just kind of quick hitter facts on Detroit. Obviously, their offense is very much still explosive, still prolific, even without Ben Johnson. They're averaging 34.8 points per game, leading the league in that regard. They have 674 rushing yards as a team in 5 games. Goff has been sacked 8 times so far this year, but the O-line for Detroit's done a pretty good job of going some pretty good stretches of not really giving up much pressure and keeping them relatively clean. And on top of that, the Detroit Lions defense is currently top 3 rather in the NFL in takeaways so far. So, I mean, it's going to be a tough matchup. Like I said, big time offense against the Chiefs defense and vice versa. We have kind of a growing Chiefs offense that going to need to take the next step forward. I would just note that, it's outside of the Browns. I mean, it's not like the Lions have played a very effective or good defense at this point of their season. No, played the Browns in week 4, but just had the Bengals in week 5. Like, come on. Played the Ravens. We all know that they're an unadulterated ass defense right now. Played the Bears, which are the Bears, and played the Packers week 1, still trying to figure things out. So, I think this is going to be more of a test for them offensively because, I mean, the Chiefs do have a respectable unit, but I mean, it's going to be a tough game either way for the Chiefs if they want to prevail, which gets me to my kingdom key. So just kind of rolling through these, first and foremost, the Chiefs defense just has to do a tremendous job in this matchup of containing Detroit's pass attack as best as they can. Like I said, they're having a pretty strong year through the air, being very explosive. Chiefs are going to have to do kind of the polar opposite of what they did against Jacksonville. They're going to need to generate consistent pressure, and just you can't let Goff sit back there and pick them apart because he will absolutely do that. I mean, Spags is going to need to be a lot more in his bag this week than he has been so far. They're going to need to utilize a lot of unique twists and stunts up front, some delayed blitzes, edge games, and just bringing pressures from different levels to get after Goff and get him rattled. And then, particularly with Detroit's passing attack, I mean, they're going to have to do the best job they can at limiting the explosive plays, those deep shots and seam routes. I mean, I imagine Detroit's going to get theirs a couple times, but like I said, if Kansas City in the secondary can limit that, hold up in tight coverage, and not get beaten on those double moves, misdirections, and with that, not give up positive yards on a dumbass penalty, I think that, that's the first prong to making this a successful game for the Chiefs. The second prong with them on the defensive side of the ball, they're going to have to disrupt the run game. Like I said, Lions have damn near 700 yards already as a team, so they're going to run. They're going to try to get after it. Kansas City, to their credit, has been pretty solid against the run so far, but they're going to need to be even better in this matchup because you got the Sonic and Knuckles pairing of Gibbs and Montgomery. So if they can at least slow them down, that will help make the Lions more one-dimensional and help Spags, get more in his bag and help them just create more opportunities, for turnovers or just 3 and outs and control the game on the defensive side of the ball. So, like I said, they're going to need to force consistent 3rd and longs to give KC just ultimately more pass rush ops. They're going to need, this is going to be they're going to need a big comeback week from Chris Stone Cold Jones here. And the front 7, but really Chris Jones. My guy's taking a little bit of heat after the Jags game. But, he still is very much a baller. He's a disruptor. They're going to double team him, and he's going to need to bring his, and they're going to have to be physical and control the gaps and stay disciplined, against Detroit's run game. they're going to need to, I mean, again, these next two always on there, but we're just going to go through them. Like, they're going to have to protect the football. They cannot afford offensively. The Chiefs cannot afford to give away possessions. I mean, just looking at last week, you take that pick six out of it. I don't even know if Jacksonville is sniffing the potential of winning that game. I mean, and Lions are even a more efficient and effective offense. You just can't gift them, field position and the short field and almost automatic points. So Mahomes and the offense are going to have to avoid those risky throws, the careless, reads and just drops, and just play a clean game. Always got to win the line of scrimmage. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you that, but the former college O lineman in me is always going to note that, because you got to win the trenches. I mean, that's, like I said, if you're successful on both ends up front, I mean, one will ease up the pressure for Mahomes and it will pressure Goff more consistently. So offensively, O-line is going to need to give Mahomes clean pockets, open lanes for the run, and create mismatches with some play designs and blocking schemes. I mean, last time in 2023 when they played in Arrowhead, which was a Detroit win, granted, no Chris Jones that game, but I mean, Detroit's pass rush really did get after Mahomes, pressured him and rattled him a little bit, that you could see. So they can't have that in this game. And then, again, on the defensive side of the ball, they just got to control the gaps. They got to shed blocks, contain the edge, and, disrupt their blocking schemes. Fifth key to the kingdom here, we got to have red zone efficiency. I mean, the Chiefs must convert their trips inside the opposing 20 into touchdowns, not field goals. You cannot have missed opportunities in the red zone against a team like this, really any team, but especially against a team with his offense as good as Detroit. So they're just going to have to get some touchdowns on the board. Sixth key here, game flow and clock management. I mean, we know Detroit's a prolific offense. They try to push the tempo when it's favorable to them, and KC is going to have to be pretty great at mixing the pace, using the clock to their advantage, and just controlling the game flow to keep that kind of disruption going in the rhythm for Detroit's offense. I mean, they need to come out strong with positive plays early in the game and early. I mean, basically, this is two games. You need to come out strong first quarter, come out very strong third quarter out of the half. I mean, that's just the way you control the clock. And then they're going to have to win those big game moments, those third down conversions, 2-minute offense. I mean, we're going to have to see this offense take a step forward. And then the last one, which will probably also be put on here every week, but special teams. And what I mean by that, kind of like I said, full circle moment at the beginning of the show, we just don't need to be talking about them, really. That's how you know you got a good special teams. If I'm not noting a bunch of dumbass plays, dumbass penalties, or gifting the opposing offense field position, that's pretty good. So, essentially the special teams cannot impact this game like they did Monday night. Can't have the bonehead, turnovers. You can't have the bonehead cute finesse kicks going out of bounds. Can't have the bonehead penalties. You need to just make a field goal when you're called upon, pin them deep if you have to punt, and don't freaking kick the ball out of bounds in a late game situation. So, those are the keys, and assuming the Chiefs perfect all those keys, you see my prediction there below. Look, I know someone's probably going to comment, this guy always picks the Chiefs to win. Well, yeah, I am a fan. And I do think that this is still a very competitive football team. I think they're trying to figure things out. And I'm picking the Chiefs to win 34-31 because, one, it's in home. Two, they just got kind of smacked in the mouth by, I'm sure, what they view as a lesser team. I'm sure what most people view as a lesser team. And three, I mean, they really have to start winning games if they want to still obtain the ultimate goal that they had after that loss in the Super Bowl last year. And that's get back and get another one and probably send Kelsey off on his good merry way on his high horse. So if that's going to happen, I mean, you already have 3 losses. You cannot really afford all that much more, and the schedule is only going to get harder. So if the Chiefs are going to do what they're going to do, or what I hope and pray they do this year, they're going to have to win a game like this. So 34-31 Chiefs at home. That wraps up our Kingdom Keys for Week 6, everybody. As always, if you want to get at me or any more of the hit squad on the Lockdown Defense Sports Network, there's my info, middle of the page, at The Real Givens on X, formerly known as Twitter, and the IG. You got Mike Dubb, our Commanders insider, as well as Robert, yeah, the Chargers guy. But please get at all of us if you have any questions, if you just want to talk ball, whatever. If you want to find more Lockdown Defense sports content, there you go. We are anywhere and everywhere your smartphone will take you. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Kingdom Keys. I'm the real AG. Please like the video. Please comment down below. And of course, subscribe to that channel, y'all.